I'm Matthew.
I'm Marty.
I'm Carlos.
And I'm Craig.
And we are the Heroes 3 plus Craig. Welcome to Heroes 3, the bi-weekly podcast where three friends explore the best, worst, and everything in between in the world of Asian cinema. And this week we are taking a look at the 1986 Japanese film His Motorbike, Her Island, directed by Nobuhiko Obayashi. And this week we are joined by another guest. I think this is our last guest run for a while, though, so it's very exciting to finish strong with Craig Neeson of the Swimfans podcast. Yay. Thank you for joining us.
Of course, yeah. And much like the finale of a fireworks show, it's chaos, it's frightening, the children are screaming. It is not ideal.
Not ideal. Dogs are barking like crazy.
Someone's gonna lose a finger. Yeah,
exactly.
Oh, you say that because this is a very low-key kind of movie. This is very, very cozy kind of watch, I think. So, but Carlos, this is you brought this to us. So, what's your idea behind this?
Well, yeah, like the rest of these guest picks, I posed the question to Craig, and there wasn't much deliberation here, and I really appreciate the choice. So this is His Motorbike, Her Island, as he said, and this is directed by Nobuhiko Obayashi. We're opening the door to this notable Japanese director, and I love that we're starting with this choice. People will know him from House, of course, and stuff like The Girl Who Leapt Through Time. A lot of kind of great 80s Japanese films. And I think, you know, the big hits like House, of course they do represent his work, but I really when I think of this director, and I've seen a handful of his films, but not too many, I do think of coming of age. I think of nostalgia, and here we're given them a beautiful thing with this film, and not just that, but the debut role of Riki Takeuchi. I had heard of this film for quite some time, but I'd never seen it up until this point. But I am pretty familiar with Riki Takeuchi, being a fan of Japanese movies. He came to be known pretty well as far as like Yakuza films and like V cinema. And hearing the title and knowing that he was in it, I had kind of an image in my head. And I'm so glad I was completely wrong in what I thought.
Let's say he is far thinner than you see him in any other later stuff. He's not quite the burly, guy that you see.
Yeah, huge,
stuff.
Surly dude that you're used to seeing.
Does not seem like a 750cc kind of.
Yeah.
But I to kind of turn this back to Craig. I would love to hear why you chose this for us today.
So I was like to my wife, I'm like, so this has been on my watch list forever. I thought it was totally appropriate. I don't know where I heard of it. And she's like, I told you about it. So whoops, little Married with Children, little sitcom family moment there. And I didn't really know much about it. In fact, I wasn't actually quite sure that this was the House guy while watching it. It was only afterwards that I was like, oh, House guy. All right.
Yeah.
All right. And yeah, that was the only thing. It was recommended to me by my wife, and I'm like, yeah, let's go for it. I adore it. I think there's a lot of, while I was watching it and in kind of retrospect, I'm like, there's a lot of play happening here. There's something like a color hold, that part of the center of the frame will be in color, and the kind of vignette will be in black and white. There's these Godard, French New Wave jump cuts that occasionally, pop in and dice up the action. Well, it's usually not action, it's just people talking, much like a Godard film. But yeah, like the overall just structure of the film is so it's so breezy. This young man is in love with his motorcycle and is I guess in like American terms, it's kind of a playboy, right? Like all these women are like so into him, but he can't find the time. But he's too in love with his motorcycle, right? Like and there's a lot.
He's got to ramble.
Yeah. He's got to ramble. Like it's so important for him to ramble. It's like his number one priority. But yeah, that like, what I often see in like the sort of American like car movie, teen movie where it's like the libidinal energy of like a main character is invested in the motorcycle, but then there's like a love interest. It's like rebel without a cause stuff, and like the fatalism of like teenagers. But yeah, like this ultimately shakes up to be like a really charming love story. It gets a little dark at the end. It gets a little like psych. My girlfriend's still alive.
Yeah.
Sorry about that other girl, but it couldn't be me.
Yeah.
I'm
Sucks.
Yeah, I'm simply built different. I can actually ride in the rain.
Yeah.
She can't.
Right.
But yeah, but that like fusion of the love, the passion of motorcycles, and the fatalism of loving a motorcycle, which is a thing that can and will kill you. And loving someone that also wants to be on a motorcycle is like, I don't know. It's a really simple, like soft conceit. It's like I love someone and they love the thing that I love, but the thing that I love is actually like in some way self-destructive, and I'm like, oh no about it. But yeah, like there's play, there's a bouncing between black and white and color. It's very light, it's very fun. I'm gonna keep using the word play a lot. I think this director it is so good at just deploying his desire to play with like the media of film. It's a really, you can feel the joy happening, and it's really infectious. I think this is a really super simple love story, and I really, really dug it.
Yeah, play is a good word because it feels like you're saying with like the color, like the movie constantly goes back and forth between being black and white or being in color, or parts of the frame are in color and some are in black and white. It does kind of feel like he was just he figured out how to do that, and so he was doing it a bunch. Like it's like whenever you have like I do music stuff, and like whenever you find like a plugin that you're just kind of messing around with, it's kind of what some of this feels like. But it translates into the kind of action of the movie too, where it's kind of like playful and like, I don't know, I guess experimenting, like young people experimenting in a way. Like maybe I'm into this thing. Maybe I'm a motorcycle girly. I don't know. Let's find out.
Yeah, man. No, I think Obayashi's goals were met in that I now have a payment plan with Kawasaki. Matthew had joked on a thread earlier. It's like that's the greatest Kawasaki commercial I've ever seen, or something like that. And yeah, there is something to be said for it, but it's really so sweet natured overall, the movie, and I kind of appreciated that. And it might just be kind of the random context I was kicking the movie off with, but you have a little bit of this opening, slightly more brooding, macho kind of like, I don't know, neo-noirish sort of narration, and then the big reveal is really all this breezy play like we've been talking about. And yeah, I don't know, I thought it was just so sweet and delightful. And if you would have asked me after maybe like the first 4 or 5 minutes, I would have also described like the use of color as maybe one of the most effective things I'd seen in recent memory. There's, as you get into the like opening credits, when you finally land there, I thought he did such a beautiful thing of kind of using the kind of like undersaturated dusk or dawn time to kind of gradually push the color into the film. And again, at that moment of the watch, I was like, God, this is so brilliant. And then for me, it did feel like somebody's toddler got in the editing room and like just kind of kept sort of pressing the button as things went on. And
yeah.
But I still want to kind of, I'd love to give it another viewing to see if maybe there's something going on with kind of like that color play that I might have been missing. But either way, just beautifully observed film, I think. You end up really kind of leaning forward and kind of falling for, our central characters here. And also loved that, I don't know, we get this kind of interesting characterization ultimately for Miyoko's character, where it's like, does she love him or does she love the bike? Like, and she really has this kind of like sort of lust for the bike, and we see it almost like activating her in this way, and she progressively is getting these more advanced driver's license, and that's part of what motivates her. And it's like, I don't know. So some fresh little kind of character moments, but overall kind of like a lower stakes watch. And yeah, I found it super welcome in that way.
Yeah, I really like this. Like I said, I was going in the wrong direction before I even saw it. And as it kind of unfolded to me, I felt pretty romantic about jumping between color and black and white. You know,
good.
They kind of set you up in a way that you almost think that it's maybe a narrative mechanic, but I feel like Obayashi actually is kind of, to use this word again, he's playing with you as the viewer, where you're trying to kind of solve this formula, and then something happens where you're like, wait a second, no, that doesn't really make sense based on what our main character, has said. So then you're trying to second guess yourself about it, and as the film progresses, you're kind of lost in the mix between this idea of color and black and white, and what's a dream and what's a memory. And I was eating all of that up. And yeah, what you also said about the motorcycle stuff here, it's also a film where you're kind of expecting a love triangle, but it actually ends up being that the motorcycle's part of the triangle.
Totally. Yeah, you think it's going to be between. Yeah, you think it's going to be between Mio and Fuyumi for Ko, but it's actually kind of between Mio, Ko, and the Kawasaki.
Yeah.
I mean, the closest thing that we get to a sex scene in this film is when she, in black and white, she descends the staircase that leads to their apartment under the rain, and just starts fondling the motorcycle.
Totally.
It's real. Like, again, like I know that it's a joke that I call things libidinal all the time, but
No,
there's
it
literally
is.
no other way to put it here.
Yeah. But the investment that Ko initially has, that we're introduced to, you know, is so kind of matter of fact, like a boy and his motorcycle, and then, you know, by way of, you know, association or love for Ko that like extends to the motorcycle or whatever, however you want to frame it, like she is just rubbing on that bike, like she's all in on that big dangerous bike.
Yeah,
Totally.
It's awesome. I mean, I've spoken so many times about how I enjoy seeing cars, especially in 80s Japanese films. I would also say the same for motorcycles here, and yeah, you get plenty of that. Yeah, in a weird way, this movie reminded me of my dad a lot.
Sure.
Yeah, my dad loves motorcycles, and he had a Kawasaki, and I was looking in my basement through my photo albums. There's a photo that I have of me on my dad's Kawasaki, and I don't remember the bike, but it's very close to what we see in this film. And it's blue, too. It's the same color as Ko's. And then the other thing that I do think of just personally is, you know, my trip with my wife to Japan a couple years back now, almost 2 years now. I wanted to drive in Japan. And one of the things that I really enjoyed about our trip was driving in these mountain roads. And you see some of this on the island. You know, they're doing some bike riding. And on our drive from Mount Fuji to Kyoto, we went through this winding mountain road, and constant flow of motorcycles, just so many motorcycles, people just enjoying driving on the road. And it was really, really kind of a really special moment riding around Japan like that. And I can totally understand how somebody can get a passion for that, for just driving in Japan, because I mean, you're on a giant island, but you're doing mountain riding. You're driving through these winding roads through Japan. So I can totally understand how people can get wistful and nostalgic about something like that too. Yeah. And I mean, my family's from Puerto Rico, and I didn't live in Puerto Rico, but every summer we would go to visit family, and my family lives up in the mountains, and the roads were like that. There's some crazy roads in Puerto Rico where you're like, we're on the edge of a mountain, and this is a mountain where trucks, like delivery trucks, are coming through, and there's all these blind corners, and I could never forget how like carefree my cousins were driving. And I was like terrified. But it's something that's just so cool, and you just have these memories of stuff like that. So I think Obayashi's really pulling from these ideas, and to speak to like kind of like the jump cuts, and honestly, yeah, the product placement basically. Matthew mentioned that it's basically like an ad, and he really cut his teeth in doing commercials. There's so many commercials that were done by him in the years. I shared kind of a compilation with you.
Yeah, I watched through some of that.
But we also shouldn't discount that it's possible, like the fourth wall is breaking, and the director is also falling in love with the Kawasaki.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
The movie, yeah.
Mm-hmm. But I think the experience of working basically in short films through doing commercials, the experimenting with different camera techniques, and the kind of director's path that you're filtered through in Japan at that time, because it was like kind of like you'd start at like a low end and you'd work your way up into a studio, and here we're seeing like this is 1986, so it's just shortly after working on stuff like House, and House was through Toho, which was like we've talked about Toho a bunch of times on the podcast. This is through Kadokawa, and actually him joining Kadokawa, he's kind of put to task to kind of be like a new wave of directors in a way. And in the 80s at Kadokawa, they became really well known for kind of like these films that were kind of vehicles that had J-pop idols. So to me, when I'm watching this film, Mio, the female lead, the actress is Kiwako Harada. She's the sister of the lead from The Girl Who Leapt Through Time, Tomoyo Harada.
Oh, cool.
And she became super famous because of that film, and that was also by Obayashi. And if I were to kind of start us with Obayashi's films, I probably would have picked something like Girl Who Leapt Through Time, or there's another crazy film called School in the Crosshairs, which is like a really weird, like sci-fi kind of effects-driven thing. And I never would have led with this, so I really do appreciate you bringing this to us today, Craig. And he's got so many films to cover, and honestly, there's a ton that I still have yet to see, so I'm really excited to check out more of his work. And a lot of it wasn't available here. And he also did, like, if I'm remembering right, he did the Kazuo Umezu Drifting Classroom. There's a live action film of that from around this time. And that actually, even in Japan, that film hasn't been released on even DVD. It's like it only existed on like VHS and Laserdisc. And also, I mean, Marty, that's a Joe Hisaishi scored film too. And
that's where I know that title.
Yeah, I haven't actually seen it in a long time, but it would be really fun to revisit that for the podcast. But yeah, there's a lot to talk about, and I'm no expert, but I mean, this director is a name that, of course, if you're a fan of Japanese cinema, you'll encounter many times.
Well, we want to dig into the movie itself a little bit.
Sure,
let's do it.
But first, let's take a look at the back of the VHS. Having just broken up with his girlfriend Fuyumi, Ko Hashimoto takes to the road to escape the city. On his beloved Kawasaki W3650, the winds lead him straight to the carefree and beautiful Mio. While their love grows, she's drawn more and more to the excitement of motorcycle riding. Ko's key to freedom could also be what steals it away. Nobuhiko Obayashi dances between monochrome and color, dreams and reality, telling the story of His Motorbike, Her Island. So the plot is pretty loose. It's the overall is focusing on Ko Hashimoto, played by Riki Takeuchi, who meets this girl Mio, another girl Fuyumi, who has an older brother who's like this part of like a motorcycle gang. But all of that is kind of just set up for kind of lots of vignettes about Ko kind of falling in love with Mio, discovering her hometown, which is the titular island, where there's like this more traditional thing versus the Tokyo streets where most of the movie takes place. and it's kind of just following little stories in their lives and how they're interacting and growing together, falling in love, and then having the big argument. And then, like Greg mentioned at the end, the Mio and Ko are kind of like, they're kind of more equals on the motorcycle now, where they both have motorcycles and they're riding together. And we think that she might have died by getting hit by a truck, but it turns out no, actually she was fine. It was some other poor girl, I guess, that they were talking about, and that's kind of where the movie ends. Which I have thoughts on that, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that later.
Yeah, I've got lots of thoughts too. At the beginning of the film, we should mention too, not just the black and white to color that I think is really effective to start this film, but it also starts at like 4:3. Like it almost like feels like you're watching a documentary at first.
Yeah.
And you're given narration at points, and you can tell that this is a man looking back on his life. You never actually do see like the older Ko, but he's basically dropping in at points to kind of let you know that he's remembering or he's reminiscing on what has happened in these couple of summers. And he's like they call it like a press rider. Basically, when there's a scoop, instead of being able to like call the newspaper, they'll just like pass off the reporter's notes to a motorcycle rider, and he'll take it back to the news. It's kind of weird, but yeah, we're also seeing this kind of biker life. And you'll see sometimes people mention Bosozoku, which is like kind of like a biker mentality, a kind of a subculture. And I don't really feel like this kind of matches the Bosozoku that you'll think of, because that's like when you see like a dude with a leather jacket and a pompadour acting, a Japanese guy acting very greaser.
Yeah.
Yep. And this is kind of like a step past that, where you can tell that was maybe part of the influence, but these guys are kind of just like, I don't know, free riders. The freedom is such a big theme in this movie. And what you find out is that Ko actually has just broken up with a girl, and what you said earlier, the girl's older brother is one of the biker. He's like his senpai, one of the elder biker gang dudes, and he kind of gets some lumps because of him finding out about their breakup. Ko mentions that most of the time people dream in color, but his dreams are monochrome. So that's what I was talking about, how it kind of sets you up for like a structure in a way where you're like, okay, well, maybe the black and white segments are dreams.
Sorry.
Right. No, that's why we're here. I'd love to talk about it.
No, I think it's, I don't know. I was all in for what I thought was like a really beautiful, like beautifully constructed, like push into color subtly. And I don't know. I definitely started bumping at a certain point. I'm like, what are we doing? I'm like, I might just like, I don't know, desaturate my VLC in a second here and just stay in one place. I don't know. But I mean, it feels petty, but at the same time, it's like, there's clearly something going on. And I didn't want to see it as goofy, but if it was a drinking game, you're pretty sloshed at a certain point.
Yeah, nice. Well, okay, so to speak to just this moment, basically Ko is he's wanting to escape the city. So he drives, he's like, I just want to drive, I just want to go somewhere. And then that's how he encounters Mio, the other female lead that we're talking about. And it is a situation where it's like, I feel like there's maybe like and Marty's probably maybe gonna bump against this too, this galaxy brain idea where it's like, is she real? Does she even exist? Because she kind of just pops in out of nowhere, and all of her traits are kind of like what Ko wants. So he talks about how Fuyumi
it's like, very wish fulfillment. It's like, can I get naked in front of you real quick? And
right.
Be interested in motorcycles in a way that reminds you of no woman you've ever met.
Yeah, because there's a sequence with his it's like a flashback to before they broke up, Fuyumi and him, where they go on a bike ride, and there's like this I don't know, Easy Rider moment where there's like a naked couple on a bike, and he takes that as a challenge, and Fuyumi isn't really down, and she kind of gets kind of shoved into the situation, and he's kind of brash with how he deals with her. And when he meets Mio, she's so carefree and she's so joyous in that attitude that it definitely kind of feels to me like, oh wait, what's really happening? What's a dream? What's a memory? And are we dealing with like kind of unreliable narrator in a way? But
I like
yeah,
that
so
too. Also, her sight reading is like super suspicious later.
Yeah, nice.
She spends all day reading about Kawasaki's and practicing piano.
Yeah.
Yeah, just so she can one up the old lover, right? Like that moment when it's like, wow, I really loved your song. Let me play it now. Like in a different movie, I could see like Fuyumi like being like, like just totally distraught, or like a kind of it's the woman holding the glass of wine pointing at the cat, and the cat like hissing back. But it's like no, it's like the movie's like, no, this is she appeared fully formed like out of his brain to be a perfect match, right? Like it's and that got to me thinking like who is this movie for? Like afterwards, I'm like, and like, is it for young people? Like in that way, like, I mean, we have two very beautiful leads, and I feel like that idea of finding your exact like complement in the world would be like satisfying to a younger audience. That like, the sort of, I don't know how much of a transgression again. Like Carlos had said, this isn't a motorcycle gang movie. It's not the movie Godspeed You Black Emperor named themselves after. Like the rough and tough motorcycle gang, which is like very, very counterculture. But yeah, there's a kind of YA sort of these two characters are effortlessly beautiful and in love with each other, and like bound to a thing that's I keep coming back to Rebel Without a Cause, where it's like, the car and the obsession with the car is ultimately fatalistic. And, my God, like when they're splitting, when they're diverging paths, and she's going to go down the Final Destination road with a logging truck.
With the logging truck.
Like if ever there's like a death flag, if ever there's a Final Destination, like, water bottle under the brake pedal moment, I was like, oh my God, no, simply ride together at a reasonable speed. So I was just.
And then if you like tie that with Carlos's like kind of Tyler Durden-y thing, it's like maybe that final reveal at the end, it's like, what even is that? Is that just like more of his wish fulfillment? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That's where I kind of landed with it.
And because everything is so heightened, right? Like it's not exactly doing the house thing where like, people are obviously not walking. They're being like whisked around on like on a moving platform, and wind is blowing through their hair, But like it's so heightened. It's so storybook-esque that it's like, wait, did she actually die? But I think that's one of the things of looking at cinema from this vantage point, where like when the grammar and the language is structured in this way, we're like, wait, maybe I do need IGN to do an ending explained.
Well, so like, to speak to that too. Perfect. And
we just jump into it. Why not?
No, I like all of this, and I really do enjoy jumping around with a movie like this too, where it's like,
totally.
What is going on? Like I kind of was like, it made me happy about movies in a way where it's like, this is a way to tell both sides of the ending, where it's like you have this tragic, you're expecting this tragedy to happen, and then they kind of put a cap on that with, no, she is outside, and they do have this romantic ending for the film. And the final shot of the film is them out in the field with their bikes, and it's in color, where it's like, this, what's a real memory, what's a dream, and what really happened. So I mean, at the same time, I feel like the motorcycle accident, when they do show it, I think it really does serves it much more when you see it in color, because it's actually surprisingly violent what you see. And I don't think that would really have, I mean, I'm sure there's a way to make it look as dramatic, desaturated, but I think it served it much more to see it in color. But then at the same time, if you're thinking in this way, where it's like, what is somebody remembering? You know, what do they not want to remember? And what is a memory and what is a dream? I don't know. I really bought into it. I do generally buy into stuff like this though. Like I'm okay with it. And
I do. I like it. I like the ending because if she had died, I feel like that would be kind of, I don't know, it feels kind of like moralizing because like
Sure.
the whole movie he's afraid of her like getting hurt and like saying like she's not ready to ride on like the higher levels of like the bigger
and
engines.
her brother
and stuff.
has like this kind of ominous take on her riding bikes.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
Fuyumi's brother. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, to me
Right.
that's kind of set up in a way where it's like that's what you would expect in a movie. And if it's a love story, you're worried that there's a tragedy. I'd also say that Ko's reaction to her obsession with the motorcycle, I never really read it as that's my thing, you can't have it. I think it was more of him just being worried about her. And I like that they handle it that way. And because like at the beginning of the movie, I mentioned how he's pretty rough with Fuyumi. And it seems like either they're gonna have sex or they did have sex. And she's like, maybe like that was her giving away her virginity. And she's like kind of upset about it. And he's like, get over it. So I was like worried that the movie was gonna go down that path. And they don't really. And I also feel like, so like as the film progresses, you're seeing these people reconnect, not over a long period of time, but long enough that their lives are changing. And after they break up, we should also mention there's this like a music bar that they always go to, and music seems to be a factor. And also like the other thing that I should say is this is again like similar to Twilight Samurai, where this is based on like a novel. And I mean, obviously, I've never read the novel of this, so I wonder if there are bits that maybe don't feel as developed in the film that maybe were more developed in the book. And what we see,
I could definitely see that.
yeah, what we're seeing is that they all kind of all the friends always go to this music bar, and they actually do also participate in the music. So there's like a couple of moments that are perfect for setting up a Japanese idol in the 80s, where you get to see them sing. But the music's really good. I really liked all the music in it.
And that's cool seeing the Fuyumi character like grow in the form of the music. Because at first, like we see her and she's like this scared and innocent, kind of taken advantage of. But as the movie goes on, she's kind of having her own story in the background where she's like getting into the music. At first, she's like she sings on stage and she's like bawling by the end of the time she's done singing the song. And then later on she's like really confident wearing this very very 80s outfit. I love the red outfit she has on.
Red looks amazing. And that song that she sings in the red dress, that was amazing.
And we see like her kind of getting confident. She meets one of like the other friends in the movie, and they like are having a baby and they're married and all that. And it's like I don't know, it's cool. So it's like, oh, they're having their own story completely unrelated to this. It definitely builds on the world of the movie.
Yeah, and in reflection to Ko, I feel like it's also not what I'd expect to, because like right when he breaks up with her, you have this other guy, Ogawa, that's like, he's like, you should go to her. And he's like, she was boring. I don't want to deal with this girl anymore.
Yeah.
He's like, okay, well, I'm going to run after her. And then
I go, like, well, fine, I'll do it then.
Yeah. Then you see him and her are an item later on. But it's not what I expect too, because you would think this would be like kind of a ex-girlfriend, new girlfriend situation. Mm-hmm. And there is a little bit of that energy, but they're actually pretty kind to each other. And I feel like Mio is so optimistic about everything, even in this situation, like she hears this song and then she hears that there's like a version that Ko, she's like, I'll go do it. Like, it's like, whoa, she's just this type of person that will like just leap into any situation. unafraid. But Fuyumi, I like how she grows. And she seems so much more confident when you see her again at the bar. But then, there's this funny moment where I try to think about it, like what's going on here, where Ogawa, the other guy, he's like, hey, take a ride with me. And they just kind of go on a joyride, and they're just like picking these targets to like just vandalize a car. He's like, I'm just going to smash some mirrors off of these cars. It's like,
sometimes you just got to smash the mirrors with the boys, you know?
What happened? Why are you doing that? But I think maybe this is another maybe counterculture kind of signal to maybe the regular Japanese viewer that, these guys are little, just one half step outside of what you'd regularly expect to see amongst your friends. He that Ogawa dude, he's the one that, like, if there could have been a villain, I could see him being the villain in the movie.
Yeah, totally.
Right.
Because whenever there's something kind of with friction, he's like part of that. He's the one that gets with Fuyumi, and he's the one that like secretly like trains Mio to ride a stronger bike, and he's smashing some mirrors.
And
without telling his boy about it.
Has the keys to Ko's apartment, is just like there in his bed chilling.
That's right.
Like this movie throws up so many like structural and narrative like flags where it's like one anticipates like these potential directions that it goes, but it's absolutely determined to be chill. I mean, like you said, like the older brother is like, what he says about, the girl riding the motorcycle is like, she is going to die. There's no kind of like anxiety about it. It's like a Greek tragedy-esque, like, she's going to die doing that. That's going to be her death. And it's like, oh no. But it bucks even that, right? Like of course it gestures to it, like really grandly. But then it's like, no, actually I'm not that kind of movie. At the same time, it is curious that we, thinking about this like division between black and white. I remember being an undergrad, and a girl made a photograph black and white that was color, and I remember the professor just like going ape into like why, right? Like, so what does it mean?
Right.
Like what, the whole like art school semiotics thing. Like, what does black and white mean? And I remember just getting like this lecture. It's like you're at a friend's house and they're getting yelled at. You're just kind of there. But just distinctly that idea of like, okay, so black and white means a lot of things. It can be like memory. It can be loss. There can be like a morose dark side to black and white, where it's a thing that you once had that you no longer have. It can also be something you cherish. It can be spooky. It can be, have that like gothic feel. But I mean, this movie again plays with that black and white lever a little loosey goosey. But the fact that we see death as and then I guess counter to that is like color necessarily means like real and present, and has a kind of evidentiary quality, especially when put up next to black and white. So it's like death as real, and then their like fantasy book ending reads as also like romantic. That's also the dimension that black and white has as well, is romance. And I think that's what I think that's mostly how the tool is being deployed. Is a kind of a romantic thing rather than the reality of the world or something.
Right. Right. No, I'd agree with that.
Like the brutal, like really rough reality. They live in a kind of twilight, black and white world that ultimately ends up being okay in the end. And again, it like might like satisfy like a young audience, right? Of seeing two lovers, ultimately not falling victim to the like narrative traps that I feel like are being like laid here.
Yeah, and they're beautifully cast. Again, like going to Riki Takeuchi, most people would know him from being like this huge Yakuza guy. Here I'm surprised that he wasn't a teen idol seeing him in this movie. He's
a very, very attractive man.
Yeah. And Kiwako, Harada, just beautiful. Like they
Gorgeous.
Cast these two people at the peak of their time, to be on camera. And I think the black and white really serves them well.
One interesting bit with the black and white is that whenever we go to her island, when we see them wearing like these very very traditional Japanese kind of outfits, there's one shot where they're with I think her grandfather, and they're like wearing these traditional clothes, sitting on the ground and like eating. And it's not only black and white, but it also looks like older film stock. Like it looks very old, like a film from like the 40s or something, where it's like kind of shaky, in addition to being black and white. And it's just it's interesting because it's like I don't know, that kind of just feels like our director was just kind of like, I wonder if I could just shoot a very old something that looks like it's from a completely different era, which also kind of I guess kind of fits with where they are, because they're in this very traditional place, and during a traditional ceremony.
Yeah,
they do a fun line dance.
They're doing it's called Obon, which is kind of like, I guess the easiest comparison for us would be Halloween, but it isn't really Halloween. It's more kind of like you're paying tribute to the people that have passed, and it's around, I think it's like late August. And actually, both times when he goes to the island, it's around there, and they use the scene to kind of set you up for when he returns, because there's like a moment where they see each other, and she's so happy to see him dressed up, and then when he, they have this kind of, like in any romance, there's the struggle, and it is because of the motorcycle. So they get to the point where he's like, no, I don't want you on the bike, and she's like, fine, and I'm leaving. And then she leaves back to her island. They're apart for a little while. Like, I think they say it's like 6 months, if I'm remembering right. And then when he decides to return, thanks to Ogawa and Fuyumi, they kind of push him to go to see her. And when he shows up to see her that second time, she at first seems pretty cold towards him. And those shots are basically the same shots that you saw them enjoying each other earlier, but now you see that she's sad. And then, but what you see here is that she's sad because he took so long to get there. She was worried that he was fooling around and not caring about her. But that's what kind of leads us towards like them reconnecting at that higher level on the motorcycles. And there's
also
an
just
idea
to underline a little of the like surreality that you were talking about earlier, Carlos. That slightly matchy cut where she's dancing with the group to then just sort of dancing for his benefit, like in front of the motorcycle. Like, yeah, there's something almost like odd, and kind of Lynchian about that or something. It was, that was cool.
And they do reconcile, and they say this, like, freedom is like the wind. I want to be like the wind, and that kind of is sprinkled through the film. And in the end, leading up to that finale, that's what the voiceover is saying from Ko. He says, at that time, and we weren't, like, she was the island and I was the motorcycle, and we were the wind again. We were the wind together. And it's like that freedom of being able to ride. The other thing I forgot to mention, I'm looking at my notes, is there are, of course, Godzilla connections here.
Of course.
So, I don't know, Marty, if you looked at the full cast, but one of those bikers is our Toru Minagishi.
Yeah, I did notice that, because I was like, wait, what? Oh, no, different Toru Minagishi, not the Nintendo composer.
Not the Nintendo composer, but he was in Godzilla vs. Violante. And in the same era, following that film, is Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah. And actually, Kiwako Harada has a small role in that film.
Well, there you go.
I'm always gonna pull that out.
I do think I think it's probably harder to find a Japanese film from this era that doesn't have a connection to Godzilla in some way than one that does.
Yeah, like Seven Shades of Kevin Bacon, but it's just one shade of Godzilla.
It's just one shade, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think I mentioned this during one of our Godzilla episodes, was like the untold Godzilla films, like Godzilla movies that weren't made, and actually the origins that are tied to House were originally kind of, if I'm remembering right, it was going to be another film called like Space Godzilla. It was like a really out there story that was in development but never ended up happening. That would have been tied to this guy right here that we're talking about.
What could have been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not the 60 other Godzillas that we got. Yeah, I don't know. Do we have any scenes we wanted to hit?
I liked that this was light, and I kind of got the sense that this would maybe be a shorter episode because of it. But I also do like that we all kind of didn't land. Marty always is so careful about his words.
No, I don't feel like I'm holding anything back.
Okay.
Yeah. And I definitely don't want to I don't know, belabor any point around the color. It was just, I think it was just kind of going from that subjective extreme of
I get you.
almost wanting to stop the movie and being like, oh, this is an all-timer, like how this was executed. Yeah. And it's like, I ought to still hold on to that take probably. It's, it isn't fair just because of, maybe what I misunderstood or whatever might not have lined up.
I get you. You kind of read a deeper meaning into it, but maybe there's a deeper meaning, but maybe there isn't. Maybe it's just playing around. Maybe it's both.
Well, to me, as we're going through the film, it is like I said, and I don't know if maybe you guys felt the same way, but I felt like him saying that my dreams are monochrome is an establishing rule, right?
Right.
And then as this is happening, you're going wait a second. If that is the rule, then they're breaking the rule, or maybe I'm misunderstanding something. And of course, I've watched this a couple of times to get ready for the podcast. So when I see it, I'm like, oh, actually, I kind of feel like there's maybe an unreliable factor here. And then it's almost like maybe Obayashi is playing with you, expecting one or the other. And then where it builds to this point where it's, either the dramatic tragedy or the summer romance that you hoped for, I feel like that he is knowingly kind of playing with you using the black and white. Maybe it wasn't as tactful as you may have hoped, but I do feel like there's some intention to all of the choices.
No,
and
for
so,
sure. Well,
so
and also I have a super ignorant question, but is there anything around censorship that has a lineage of black and white? Because there's
so you're talking about
also which we have
the crazy 88s.
I mean, and no, more on the nudity side. I mean, it's not that we've been avoiding it, but it's another, I think, aspect of the movie. At least for me, it's as it was getting going, it was a little bit curious. It's oh, is this almost kind of softcore titillation kind of adjacent sort of what exactly is this project? And in retrospect, it's just some isolated sequences that really are kind of serving these characters and serving this story. But I wasn't sure because it's on the Hong Kong side, it's with some of the Category 3 films, sometimes you'll have weird things visually for how I even think there maybe is some kind of tradition of certain sequences going into black and white. I don't know. Not that it saves the children's purity or whatever.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you brought that up because earlier in the film, one of the first encounters with Mio is in a bathhouse, and both her and Ko are completely naked, and it's kind of played as a joke. But she, again, is very carefree in how she's handling herself. And I feel it's absolutely in reflection to his experience with Fuyumi, where they're getting on the motorcycle and he's ordering her to take her clothes off because of that kind of other biker with his girlfriend. And she's really reluctant to do so. And the first time he sees Mio after that situation in the film is her completely naked. And,
completely on her own, not anything he had to do with her. She's
just hanging out. She's enjoying the onsen, and he's kind of shocked to see her there because one, it's not a co-ed situation normally, and two, she's just whatever, I'm naked, and but to speak to the behind the scenes, and I wish I did know a bit more, but from what I have heard is, when Harada signed up for the film, I don't think she was aware that this was going to be a thing. And I don't think she was forced into it. And like I said, I wish I knew more, but it wasn't something that she was very excited about. And they did do it, and it was in the film, but that actually led to a lot of these idols to kind of move away from Kadokawa as a company, and I think that was because of what we see in this movie. Yeah. So to kind of speak to what you're saying, is like, I don't think it was very common. I think maybe having the nudity was to the detriment of the company, and but I don't know how it performed because of it either. And I mean, like I said before, though, both of them are looking amazing. So
right, and that's where you kind of wonder
tickets.
is like, is this being sold to teenagers or like early young adults? Because I don't know, just based on my idea of like what's popular in America in terms of teenage longing or whatever, this would sell like hotcakes.
Right.
And that idea of the deployment of black and white, I think because he's so like earnestly interested in this romance, I think of those little they're little like white figurines of Caucasian children doing activities. They're like, do we know what I'm talking about?
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yes,
like they're like sledding or like doing other like acceptable Norman Rockwell.
Are you talking
things.
like Precious Moments kind of?
Precious Moments. Thank you, Precious Moments.
Okay, nice.
Yeah. So I mean, like the deployment of black and white and this like very earnest engagement with the romance part of the story. Like I feel like kitsch is really hard to avoid. And there's no higher form of kitsch than like artificial black and white or black and white with a color hold, right? It's like this the obviously showing the audience that you're flipping something into emotion land or like memory land or romance land. And I think because I feel like the engagement in the play is so earnest, because I do feel joy behind like the making of it. Though I think again, like we've all described like being a little tripped up by the rule making process, but it's like to me it's a thing that dips a little too far perhaps into kitsch, where it's like a little too like genuinely earnest, where it meets at least my skeptical 21st century brain, and I'm like, again, that logging truck is a death flag for the relationship. If things can't certainly be this good, right? But yeah, but then it manages to balance the Lynchian thing where we have the beautiful struggle like of the relationship while also having the brute reality of things. Like Ko's reluctance to have his girlfriend be on a motorcycle. It's funny, Lynch being brought up. I thought about how Laura reacts so violently when Donna wears her clothing in Fire Walk with Me. It's like it's okay for Laura because Laura is on a path of self-destruction and she's resigned herself to it. But it's absolutely not acceptable for her friend to be resigned to it. Like she can't do that. It's Laura's path to immolate, for the town of Twin Peaks. It's absolutely not Donna. So like that it's okay for Ko to engage in this thing that's necessarily like dangerous and like is joyful because it has an aspect that could take his life or injure him. It's like, oh no, but I can't have that for the one I love, right? Yeah, so there's like an earnest engagement with this, to me, again, this like American love of the road and the freedom and the so on, while also, balancing the weight of that freedom. That freedom has certain costs, even though they're a little soft in this film, right? They're like, I don't know that they're gonna make a woman pregnant and then kill her. Like that seems too heavy. It's just knowing that this is the house guy really helps just amplify my read of like, oh, he's just playing. Yeah, my man's out here playing. He's just flipping switch, like the child. Yeah,
I do think that we're not getting too weird with it, but I think Twin Peaks isn't that bad of a comparison. Like you've got these coming of age characters, and you've got a small town, and you've got a music spot that they all join up at every once in a while.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Also, it's like if you flash back to how how people originally responded to even the pilot, where there was some divisiveness. If it's like, oh, is this meant to be played straight? Like, how am I, like, through what lens am I like reading this? Like, is this a slightly gonzo, like, lifted kind of thing, or is it like, am I in on the joke? And it's not to the same degree, but yeah, there is. I mean, hence, like, some of our, like, the circles we're running, I think, right now, and like just some of the questions that I think are just like very naturally emerging from this. It's like, yeah, it's like, what exactly am I reading here? Having said all that, I think, I don't know, I think it does all come back to what you were saying initially, Craig, which is like, this is an experience around play, and I think that still is probably like the bullseye compared to, I don't know, like some of these other like vectors I think we're taking.
So the other thing that, yeah, we should really mention is, like, His Motorbike, Her Island is coming in after stuff like House, after The Girl Who Leapt Through Time, after, I believe, School in the Crosshairs, which, if people are familiar with those, they're full of special effects, full of weird things happening, but still kind of giving you Obayashi's kind of coming of age, romanticized ideas of things. So I do feel like this is maybe in reflection to that other work where he's making a more grounded film and a more kind of almost like a reset for him. And also, like I had mentioned, this is, based on a written work. So yeah, maybe we're scratching at these things that we're seeing from him because we're maybe not used to all the other stuff. So, like, I mean, not to kind of turn the spotlight back to you guys, but House is the big one that I think most Westerners have seen. But outside of that, I don't think people would regularly engage with his other films. Are you familiar with The Girl Who Leapt Through Time at all, you guys?
I know that it's a movie. That's all I know about it.
I have not watched.
I've seen.
So yeah,
there's an anime, right? I've seen that.
Yeah.
For Swimfans, yeah.
Right. So the anime is actually kind of like it's like kind of not adapting the same idea. It is in a way, and it isn't, without spoiling too much. But yeah, the original film is this young girl gets thrust into a situation where she ends up having to repeat the same day over and over, and she's realizing what's important in her life and who the people are in her life that mean the most to her through that science fiction premise. And yeah, there's a bunch of effects in it, and I actually think there's something really charming about the effects work that you see in Obayashi's films. There's a lot of, like, hand-drawn effects and rotoscoped effects in his films, and honestly, maybe if we saw a little bit of that in here, that would kind of bolster the kind of other visual ideas that we're seeing represented. But I mean, in the end, I really did enjoy this, and I'm really thankful that you brought it, and I'm super excited to talk about more of his work. Like, he's done so much, I think, over his entire life, starting from House, that was like his directorial debut, all the way through to like 2017, 2018, maybe even up to like when he passed away. He passed away, like, I feel like 2020,
2020. Yep.
Yeah. And he was constantly working, and it was a passion of his, like so many of these Japanese directors that we've talked about. Yeah, lots to enjoy from Obayashi.
Yeah, no, I really like this movie a lot, and I definitely makes me want to dive into some other stuff.
I would love us to do, like, Girl Who Leapt Through Time for sure. It would be a really good time.
And I feel like we have to do House at some point. Like, that's got one of those, like, every Halloween where I was like, could we do House? Well, maybe we'll do a weirder one, or more obscure one, Well, before we get to our final plugs and everything, Craig, thank you so much for joining us. Do you have anything to plug or highlight or anything like that?
Oh, watch Swimfans. Or wow, sorry.
Yeah.
You could watch Swimfans. Don't let them know, though.
I've watched an episode of Swimfans.
Sorry, Papa's Pharmaceuticals are kicking in. Sober I'm the most sober person on the planet. It's a joke, everybody. You can listen to Swimfans. You can expect more non sequiturs and
Of course,
and eyebrow raising comments from the other hosts. Just Swimfans Pod, Apple, Spotify, so on and so forth. Swimfans wouldn't exist without Heroes 3. So always got to mention that. So
Mike.
You don't have to mention that. That's cool though.
you don't have to. I appreciate it, but you don't have to. I'm glad that we resulted in something really amazing coming out, because I really do love Swimfans.
Yeah,
It really is one of my favorite shows.
Thank you.
So. Well, thank you so much for checking out this show. If you enjoyed it, then you can check us out on your social media of choice. We're at Here Is the Number 3 Podcast on all of them. If you have an Obayashi movie that you think that we should take a look at, then send us an email about it at hereisthenumber3podcast@gmail.com. And so that kind of wraps up our big epic journey of guests. And now we're not 100% sure what we're going to do next. Did you have any thoughts about that, Carlos?
Yeah, no, I'm excited. There's a couple of things that I want to do that will keep our time fun and fresh. To speak to Swimfans, they've been going on a whole run of episodes where they're doing first time watches basically, and that's really exciting. And a lot of times that's what we are up to too. I do think about, when we do like long summer arcs, there are pros to it and there are cons to it. I've been thinking about this a bit. I don't want us to kind of throw ourselves into something that's like, okay, maybe if somebody's not interested in that topic, they're like, okay, well, I guess I'm just gonna not listen to a whole summer's worth of episodes.
Right.
But at the same time, there's so much fun stuff to discuss. And we've been leaning very into the Japanese side of Asian cinema, which is fine. There's so much to love and so much to enjoy. But I think where I'm gonna go with the podcast for us, and I don't want to say that like I'm the one driving only. Of course, if you guys want to talk about stuff, let's talk about it. And
no, man, we're on the back of the motorbike with you.
Yeah. Riding side saddle.
Yeah, maybe
that little hug.
I'm gonna lean us towards maybe another direction away from Japanese cinema for a little bit, but still a lot of the things that we love. And I've got to watch a couple of things before I land on our decision, because we usually transition into our arcs with an animated episode, and there's a couple of things that I really want us to talk about. So I'm figuring that out. So no announcement, but we'll post on our socials about it, and it will be in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah,
Nice.
sure will. Well, until the next episode where we just talk about something.
Yeah.
I'm Matthew.
I'm Marty.
I'm Carlos.
And I'm Craig.
And we are the Heroes 3 plus Craig. Remember your training. Heroes 3 is part of the Mercado Brothers Podcast Network.